It's the end of the year, and usually I like to count down my favorite hikes of the year. This year I'm going to be doing something a little different. So in this video, I'm going to talk about the 10 hikes that I am most proud of from 2022. 2022 was a great year of hiking for me. I got to check off a lot of objectives both here in Colorado and outside of the state, and really had a heavier focus on trail running as well. Without further ado, let's start off with number 10, which takes us down to New Mexico for Atalaya Mountain. Many of you probably have never heard of this hike, and it's not a super significant one in terms of difficulty, but what was significant, as you can maybe hear her in the background drinking her water, was it was Aria's first summit of a mountain. We took her down and we had absolutely no idea what to expect. We didn't sleep in the hotel because she wouldn't go to the bathroom outside of her yard. But by the end of this hike up Atalaya Mountain, she was on her own, she was doing a great job, and she peed and pooped and both of us almost cried. So that's why it makes the list as the number 10 hike that I'm most proud of this year. Number 9 takes us on a couloir up a 14er, Dead Dog. And the Dead Dog Couloir is a pretty infamous one if you're in the Front Range of Colorado. It's a great spring or winter objective. And the reason why it makes my list is because this was a line I've been looking at for a number of years and finally felt confident enough to do it on my own instead of having partners to rely on, which is great, don't get me wrong, but just from a scheduling perspective, a lot easier when you're training to just kind of fire from the hip. So yeah, Dead Dog was a great snow climb, and I ended up going down, skiing down the Y or tuning fork couloir on the other side of Torrey's Peak, the 14er. We had to wait on the top for a bit for the snow to soften, and it never really did. It was pretty bulletproof. But what I'm proud about on this one is I was redeeming a line, snowboarding down at least, that I had tried previously and wasn't successful at. So always good to get redemption. Continuing on, we have the number 8 hike I'm most proud of this year, which was really kind of a big hike. It was about 50 miles and it was the Colorado Trail. So Jackie, Ari, and I hiked 3 segments of the Colorado Trail, 22, 23, 24 this year. We're nearing the end of that journey, so trying to soak it up and enjoy it, which I feel like we actually did this time. Even with the weather not on our side, we still really had a good time. We didn't push mileage when we didn't have to, and tried to soak it up as much as we could. All 3 segments were absolutely stunning. It was Aria's first backpacking trip, which she almost sabotaged by partially ruining our 6-moon design shelter before we even started hiking on the drive down camping. But the weather was a lot of precipitation, a lot of cold rain, but we really did a good job of enjoying the time on the trail, which was awesome. We stopped for lunch on days. That should say enough. I have never done that in a video, I can tell you, and it was just really enjoyable. So we had a beautiful sunset on the second to last night, and really memorable time. The most favorite part I think I had was the clouds parting in the middle of segment 24 to give us what many consider the best views on the entire CT. To make things even more hilarious, I was supposed to be tapering for a 50-mile run that weekend, so yeah, just proud of how my body held up. Really the course of the year, but especially those 2 weeks. Number 7 takes us up to Boulder, the Boulder Skyline Traverse. This is a classic for anyone who lives in the Front Range, who's a trail runner. This is a really long trail run for some, or an even longer hike for others. Basically, you're starting on South Boulder Peak and going down to Flagstaff, or in reverse. I went, what is that, south to north, which it was a challenging day. It was my first really big trail run I've ever done, really. And I thought it went well. The climbs were tough, but at the end of the day, I was really proud of myself on how my body held up, and of course, just tackling another classic. I talked earlier in the video about redemption on a 14er, and number 6 is going to take us to another redemption on a 14er route, this time up Longs Peak via the Loft route. For those of you who have been following over the years, this was supposed to be my Colorado 14er finisher with a couple of buddies, but we got a little bit, I would say, just didn't do enough research beforehand, and the winds were just absolutely insane. So was able to go back this year and not only tag Longs up Loft for the first time, but also Mount Meeker, which was really good. This was a time of, I didn't really think I'd have this time to be hiking this year. So really took advantage of it with that and a number of other hikes, but this one is the one I'm most proud of. Number 5 takes us out to Aspen for the 4 Pass Loop. This was an absolutely epic day, and one, again, I feel like a lot of the ones I'm proud of this year were on my list forever, and this was another one, the 4 Pass Loop. So this was about a 27-mile day. We trail ran it, a lot of walking, a lot of power hiking, but every single pass was just so beautiful. I'm proud of this one for a couple of different reasons. Obviously the distance, the elevation, it's a really tough day, but also the fact that I was able to share it with my friend Rick, who has also wanted to do this for a long time. He's a much more accomplished, better, faster trail runner than I am, but sometimes it's always nice to kind of have someone along on these journeys and relive them together, but also soak it in the moment together. So I think we're going to try to go back and backpack this, Jackie and I, so keep you posted if we do that. I should mention, while I'm talking about all these hikes, I'll link all of the videos and trail guides in the description below. You can check out more footage and obviously more information on each one I talked about. So number 4 on the list takes us to Rocky Mountain National Park, up another mountain that's pretty, I would say, unless you're a rock climber, unknown. It's called Shark's Tooth. Shark's Tooth is about a 5'6", 5'7" trad route up this, again, I think it's like an 11,000 foot peak. And what I'm proud of about this is not the bad decision making I had going into the day, which was being a little bit underprepared, or a lot bit underprepared in terms of the gear that I had, but how both Nick and I overcame the situations that we were dealt with. So I'm not a huge rock climber. I would say I'm trash at rock climbing. I do enjoy it, but it's not something I'm doing actively on my own. So when Nick invited me up to do Shark's Tooth, it was a no-brainer. I was coming off of my 50-mile run the week before, so my legs were not necessarily feeling great. And I also decided to wear trail runners up a trad route, which definitely not the best decision in retrospect, but we were able to get all the way up towards the top, pitch or two, and then things turned a little bit south where we were caught in an electrical storm on the summit. Another group was kind of in a similar situation, but really kind of bonded together with these 2 strangers and got down and turned into a really memorable day. Proud of how, both of us kept our heads in less than ideal situations, and for me personally, how I kept persevering, and especially in sections of the rock where my legs were just not able to grip into the rock the way that they should have been with proper footwear. Number 3 takes us out to California. The highest peak in the lower 48, the top of California, Mount Whitney. Going back to my earlier kind of comment, excuse the dog if you can see or hear her, about time that I didn't think I'd have. So really just kept hammering the permit system, and ended up with a day permit up Whitney. And yeah, went up the Mountaineers route and then down the standard route. It was something like a 23 mile day. Really beautiful at the top. It's certainly not the most technical peak that I've done this year or state high point, but I think what I was most proud of was just the perseverance on something that at the beginning of the year, at the beginning of the month when I did it even, really didn't think that it was going to be an objective I'd be accomplishing. So really proud of that, the long drive out there and all the logistics that went into it. And of course, having a great support system at home to, help me, encourage me and push me to achieve these types of things. It's getting pretty hot by this fire here, so I'm going to wrap this one up pretty quickly here. So number 2 takes us to the Grand Canyon, rim to rim to rim. Another one had been on my list, and Rick, who went and ran it with me that day forever. 46 mile day with like 11,000 vert. Really just proud of, again, I felt like trash, didn't train enough for this. This was several months after my core of training stopped, and I think it definitely came to bite me, especially on that climb up to the North Rim. But again, really proud of the accomplishment, doing it in a day. The time for me is not something I'm super competitive about. It's more of the completion of the objective. And yeah, it was a really memorable day. Always beautiful to get down into the Grand Canyon and experience terrain that is just so different than what we have here in Colorado, and frankly across most of the United States and even world. So that takes us to number 1. This one may not be as surprising to those who have been following along, but it's going to be the Leadville 100 run. Now I know this is not technically a hike, but it's certainly what I'm most proud of accomplishing this year. To be frank, I have never really trail run before the start of 22, and to be able to come out of this year with a handful of ultras, a handful of, I think 5 marathons. Marathons themselves have turned into just like another training day for me, which is not to brag or be, boisterous about it, but it's just like pretty crazy that that's where I'm at right now. I never thought that that would be a sentence coming out of my mouth. So yeah, Leadville, I had a great opportunity to run it this year, and obviously for those of you who are familiar with it, it's a very high, 60% or so rate of those who don't finish, and I was seconds away from being one of those statistics. But throughout the whole day and night and the next day, it was just constantly pushing through mental blocks and things that went wrong and time cutoffs, which I'm very proud of. But I think what I'm more proud of is the support system that was there to help me through this. People, my sister, friends, Jackie, family, staying up through the night, coordinating logistics, making sure that I don't have to think about things rolling into aid stations and changing shoes. And of course, Rick, who paced me for something like 8 hours. 8 hours. Through the night, by the way. So that's, to have those kind of people in your life is pretty special. That's gonna wrap up my list of the top 10 hikes that I'm most proud of this year. Would love to hear what you're most proud of, so leave those in the comments below. What do you have planned for 2023? What do you want to see me do in 2023? I have some ideas, but would love to hear from you as we wrap up the year here. And this will be the last video I put out in 2022. I just wanted to say thank you so much to all of you who are watching, subscribing, commenting, interacting. I feel like we're starting to slowly build a pretty cool community here, and excited to keep building that into the new year, into 2023. So with that, thank you so much for watching throughout the year and this video. And as always, we'll see you on the next adventure in 2023.